Welcome to Donu's World. Hello everyone, thank God it's Friday. Welcome to Donu's World. I recently interviewed Zeinab Badawi, a distinguished award-winning broadcaster, journalist and filmmaker, who also happens to be president of the School of Oriental and African Studies at London University. Now, Zeinab has written a great book called An African History of Africa. And, she hasn't asked me to plug it for her, but I highly recommend it to anyone who can download it on Kindle or walk into a bookshop and buy a copy. And not just Africans, everyone. This book is flying off the shelves in the United Kingdom. It will soon be published in other countries and reveals facts about African history that are not compatible with the largely negative image that Africa has today. 3 facts particularly struck me and will definitely shock some of you, in fact many of you. For example, did you know that the richest man in the world in the 14th century was an African king from Mali? I'll let Zeinab describe him to you in her own words.
Mansa Musa. He was born in 1280. He died in 1334, but he's best known for this amazing pilgrimage that he made in 1324 to 25 because he was a Muslim. He went to Mecca, stopped at Cairo on the way, and on the way back, he also stopped off at Cairo. When he set off, he had an amazing retinue. He had a household of 12,000 people. He had 600 personal servants. He had thousands of porters. He had about 100 camels, each bearing gold to a total value of up to 20 tons. And he was clad in silk, wearing gold, and all his personal servants were also clad in silk. On the way back from Mecca, he stopped at Cairo. He spent so much money and gave away so much gold that the price of gold plummeted for more than a decade, losing 25% of its value globally. So I like the story because it shows how Africa, even in this so-called medieval period, was plugged into the global economy. So this idea that there are people who stand on the sidelines of history and those who make it, Mansa Musa shows this is not true at a time when Europe, including England, was being plagued literally by the plague and the Black Death. This man had this flourishing kingdom. He was very enlightened. He could read Arabic and write Arabic, which is why Timbuktu is a library. The great library there at the Great Mosque is made up of fine African literature written in Arabic about all sorts of subjects, science, law, and so on. And he set up centers of learning, brought scholars from North Africa to teach people. And so, it became a really buzzy place, the Empire of Mali under him, that in 1375, a Catalan cartographer drew this very simple map of the world, and Mansa Musa was one of the 4 or 5 principal characters depicted on it.
By the way, it's worth mentioning that Mansa Musa's fortune was almost $400 billion if you adjust for inflation and historical, factors. And $400 billion is double the wealth of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Just to put his wealth into context, double the wealth of Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, and Elon Musk, who owns Twitter and many other things. Something that, I was aware of, but most people I've spoken to have been surprised to hear, that humanity originated in Africa. And by humanity, I mean all humans. Chinese, Europeans, Americans, every human being on the planet, every race, every tribe, every country, every nation, the inhabitants thereof originated in Africa. So, as Zainab says in her book, we are all Africans in a deep sense. So this is, one of the things that white racists really struggle with because it's a fact. And why do we look different? Well, there are evolutionary reasons why people move away from a particular place and start to look different based on the environment they find themselves in. But that's real food for thought. Always remember that. Anytime you see some black guy or black woman, I'm talking to white people now, you think, oh, I don't have anything in common with these people. The answer is yes, you do. We all have the same birthplace. Africa is the cradle of the human race. And Zainab highlights this very well in her book. I mean, there are loads. This book is stuffed with fascinating facts. It's a real educational tour de force. I'd advise, as I said, children, adults, anyone who can spare the time to read and learn. I said at the beginning of this video that there were 3 facts that particularly struck me amongst the many other facts that are worth, learning and hearing about and reading about. And the third one is that when European colonialists got to a site in Zimbabwe, an archaeological site that was later called Great Zimbabwe, they found, they found something that was so sophisticated that they didn't believe it had been created by Africans. It's called Great Zimbabwe. They did not believe Africans had created it. And, a lot of effort was poured into denying the sort of ingenuity of the Africans who created it. It took a long time for that to be properly acknowledged by the white racists who ran Zimbabwe in those days, when it was called Rhodesia. And so, when you look at these facts that are in this book, it's good for Africans to know these things. So a lot of Africans don't know this stuff either. A lot of Africans and Black Americans and Caribbean people who are, of course, Africans in the diaspora don't know these things. And these things ought to be taught in schools because it's good for the collective self-esteem to be aware of the achievements of your race. Some of the outstanding things that Africans have achieved throughout history. The fact that everybody, the brotherhood of man is for real because everybody came from Africa originally. And it's also very good for white people to know this. There are white people who distance themselves from black people and brown people and Asian people, not realizing or not wanting to accept the fact that there is this kinship we all share. Okay, folks, so that's all for this week. But just before I go, I want to say that, Zainab's book is brilliant, but it's not the only valuable educational resource that Black people and white people who want to learn can pick up on around this whole issue of the Black race, the African continent, and so on. Okay. I'd like to draw your attention to a brilliant drama that was produced by my friend Maxine Watson. And we used to work at the BBC together, and she and her team have won 3 Daytime Emmy Awards, which they picked up in Los Angeles recently. And it's on Netflix. It's called African Queens in Njinga. It's great and well worth watching. So, I need educating, and I think everybody does. So let's all go away and promise ourselves that we're going to find out more about things that not just things that affect us personally, but about things about the world and about the humanity. And, things that are worth knowing. We'll learn more about Native Americans. I've just signed up to a Native American Facebook group because I want to know more about Native Americans. Go and know more about Asia. Go and know more about the world. That's what makes you a truly rounded human being. I mean, we all came from the same place originally, so let's find out how the different branches are doing or have done historically. Thank you.